Pag ano kaya Tati, pag nag-join ka doon sa doon sa link,
We will start in a few minutes, so please log in now or invite your other colleagues to
We will
please log
start
to
in a
our
few
platform.
minutes,
Thank
so
you.
please
Log in now or invite your other colleagues to
we will
please log
start
to
in a
our
few
platform.
minutes,
Thank
so
you.
please
Muli magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. Good morning po sa ating Regional Director, Dr. Nicolas Capulong, the members of the Regional Quality Management Team, our Schools Division Superintendents and Assistant Division Superintendents, officials, employees of SDOs Puerto Princesa City, Palawan, and Marinduque. Colleagues, once again, isang mapagpalang umaga po sa ating lahat. Pursuant to DepEd Order number 009 series of 2021, or the institutionalization of a quality management system certifiable to ISO 9001:2015, the regional office, through the quality management team, has slated series of activities including this orientation training, workshops last Monday and Tuesday, and of course our session on raising awareness on developing a QMS aligned with the ISO 9001:2015. As we open today's awareness training, please join us as we say a prayer and recite the DepEd Quality Policy Statement. Manalangin po tayo sa ngalan ng Ama, ng Anak, ng Espiritu Santo. Amen. Ama namin, pakinggan mo po ang pagtawag namin sa iyong banal na pangalan. Basbasan mo po ang aming pagtitipon at kami kaluguran mo sa araw na ito. Pagyamanin mo po, Panginoon, at maging nakaayon sa iyong kalooban ang aming pagkikita-kita mula sa simula hanggang sa katapusan. Masalamin nawa namin ang layunin mong dakila sa aming buhay at maisagawa namin ngayon ang aming mga gawain na may kabutihan at pag-ibig sa aming kapwa. I invite everyone to recite the DepEd Quality Policy Statement. The Department of Education is committed to provide learners with quality basic education that is accessible, inclusive, and liberating through proactive leadership, shared governance, evidence-based policies, standards and programs, responsive and relevant curricula, highly competent and committed officials, teaching and non-teaching personnel, and an enabling learning environment. The department upholds the highest standards of conduct and performance to fulfill stakeholders' needs and expectations by adhering to constitutional mandates, statutory and regulatory requirements, and sustains client satisfaction through continuous improvement of the quality management system. Thank you once again for those who joined us this morning, and to acknowledge all our participants from the different SDOs here present. I give you Dr. Ferdinand Coloweng, and he will also be presenting the activity objectives. Sir Ferdy?
Thank you, Ms. And po sa ating lahat. And welcome back, Cluster 2. Kumusta po kayong lahat? Let me check po our participants from Cluster 2. As I call you SDO po, kindly open your cameras and microphones and greet each one in the platform using your local dialect po. So let me see. May we call our participants from SDO Palawan, headed by our SDS, Sir Roger F. Papa.
Mayad nga temprano.
Mayad nyo temprano, kanindong tanan.
Morning. Open your microphone, your cameras po. Okay, so stay a bit for our post opportunity. Yan. Maraming salamat po, our participants from SDO Palawan. Next is our participants from the Division of Puerto Princesa, PPC, led by our SDS, Ma'am Loida Atornado. Good morning po.
Good morning.
Good morning po.
Good morning,
Morning,
Mayad
everyone.
na temprano.
Morning.
Morning,
Morning,
po.
everyone.
Good
morning.
Wow, ang dami.
Share lang po kami sa camera kasi yung iba pong gamit na walang
What
camera.
about our participants po from the Division of Marinduque, led by our SDS, Ma'am Elsie Barrios. Morning, Marinduque.
Good morning, MIMAROPA. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, everyone.
Kumusta kayo sa
Morning,
Marinduque?
everyone. Morning, everyone.
Morning, wow. Jampak, ang dami. Alright, thank you very much, participants from SDO Marinduque. And of course, our colleagues from the regional office, led by our beloved regional director, Dr. Nick Kapulong, and of course, our chief of QAD and our regional QMR, Dr. Melbert Roqueza. Good morning. Good morning sa ating mga kasamahan sa regional office. Yan. Thank you so much for your undivided attention and full cooperation. At this time, may I present to you our training objective. So this is our training objective for today. For the trainees to gain full understanding the ISO quality management principles and concepts, to understand, interpret, and implement the requirements of the standard. Thank you so much. Back to you, Ma'am Tap.
Ayun, kailangan ko lang sa pero maririnig niyo, di ba?
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Ferdy. And once again, good morning to our participants from SDO's Puerto Princesa City, Palawan, and Marinduque. I'd like to remind our participants to please mute your microphone while our session is ongoing. Okay. Thank you so much. At this point, I would like to call on our regional director for a message if he is already in the platform. Good morning po, RD. Okay, so I think RD is with an equally important activity at the moment. We will have him later once he joined the platform. I'd like to take this opportunity to extend our appreciation again to our participants for your enthusiasm and commitment to this meaningful endeavor of the department, and the same appreciation to our steadfast and resolute leaders for their efforts and initiatives towards realizing one DepEd, one QMS. Among them, of course, is our visionary, our regional director, Dr. Nicolas Capullo. At this juncture, I would like to introduce to you our resource speaker for this awareness training. Our speaker for today is smart, determined, and confident when it comes to her job as the Administrative Officer 5 and the head of the Public Affairs Unit, our Regional Information Officer, and of course, member of the Training and Advocacy Team of the Regional Quality Management System. Without further ado, I give you Ma'am Sherilyn T. Laquindano. Good morning, Ma'am She.
Hello, good morning po. Good morning. Good morning, Miss Nor. Good morning po to all our participants, especially our schools division superintendents, our assistant schools division superintendents, and the members of the division office personnel. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. Happy to be with you today, and I will be giving you an overview of the ISO 9001 2015. Okay, so that's my task for today. Okay, but before we go to our session for today, I would like to give you a pre-test first so that we can gauge kung ano na po ang inyong awareness level in terms of ISO. Okay? Am I loud and clear, Miss Nor?
Yes, Ma'am She. How
Thank
many
you.
minutes po for the pre-test now?
Okay. Kasi medyo intermittent yung internet dito sa office. So, kapag ka po nawala po ako, pakisabihan na lang po ako. Ano po? Okay. Once again, good morning. And for the pretest, can we have the pretest for 10 minutes? For 10 minutes? Okay po ba?
Yes, ma'am. We will take note of the time.
Okay. Sige po. The pretest po will be sent to the chat link, and then kindly answer po the pretest para po malaman natin nasaan na po kayo in terms of ISO, because hindi naman din po bago sa atin yung ISO accreditation, but ngayon po, since natapos na po yung process ng regional office last year, it's time for the division office to undergo now the ISO processes, ISO accreditation. That's why we're having po this awareness training. Okay, thank you very much po pala for the quality assurance team, our QMR, and for inviting us to be with you today. Okay? Siguro po, nasa chat box na po ba yung ating, yan.
Opo, ma'am.
Nasa chat box na po yung ating pretest. Kindly try to answer po yung pretest. Wala naman po ditong checking of answers. So, try lang po nating sagutan para lang po malaman natin yung ating awareness level. Okay? So, can I have 10 minutes on the clock, please? And then we'll get back po to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am She. It's already 9:01. We will be back by 9:11.
Cut back daw yung test.
Mahina. Ang ibig sabihin nun eh. Mahina na lang po yung din ang meron.
Okay. Kamusta po? Kamusta po ang pagsagot ng pre-test? Nasagutan po ba natin?
Salamat po sa ulit-ulit na tanong, nakadami ng score.
Nakadami ng score. Yon, sige po. Itabi po muna natin yung ating pre-test at babalikan po natin yan mamaya for our post-test. Okay? So, with that po, I would like to start with my session. Let me just share my screen. Here. Okay na po ba? Nakikita na po ba?
Yes po.
Opo, okay. Sige po. Okay, so let's now start with our orientation on ISO 9001 to 2015. Okay? Ika po. So I will be giving you an overview of the concepts of the ISO para lang po mas maintindihan natin kung paano natin siya gagawin at what constitutes the accreditation process. Okay? So, the ISO po, or the International Organization for Standardization, it started in Geneva, Switzerland, and nag-start po siya noong 1946. We have 167 member countries, and we have 24,304 international standards. So, globally, meron po tayo 24,304 standards. So, paano po siya nag-evolve? So, before po, nagkaroon tayo ng ISO 901, 1987, 1994, 2000, and 2008. And now, we have the ISO 9001, 2015. So, ito po sa quality management system, the requirements are only 3. So we have to satisfy our customers, so customer satisfaction. We have to comply with applicable customer, legal, and other requirements. And we have to ensure that we are continuously improving. Okay, so kailangan po, meron siyang continual improvement. There are 7, let me, pakisabi lang po kung medyo mabilis po ako or mabagal, ano po, kasi dire-diretso lang po tayo. There are 7 principles po of the quality management system. First and foremost is its customer focus. Second, it has leadership. Third po, it engages people, so engagement of people. It deals with processes, so process approach. It deals with improvement. Yung sabi ko nga po kanina, it has to be continual, yung improvement po ng ating mga work processes. And it is evidence-based, based on evidence-based decision-making. So, hindi lang po ito whims or ano. So, we actually have data. We actually have data that we base our decisions on. So, and of course, it improves relationships. So, nagkakaroon po siya ng relationship management. So, there are 7 principles po of QMS. Tandaan po natin yan. Customer focus, leadership, engagement of people, process approach, improvement, evidence-based decision-making, and relationship management. Ang QMS po is based on the Deming PDCA cycle. So, yun pong Deming PDCA cycle, this is named after William Edwards Deming, who is a physicist and a statistician. Okay? So, PDCA. Ano po yung PDCA? It's plan, do, check, and act. So, when we plan po, we investigate our current situation so that we will understand yung nature ng ating problem in the workplace. Okay? Hello? Kindly mute your microphone po. Thank you. Okay. We plan po, we develop a plan and a framework, and then we specify there our desired outcomes. And so that's for the plan. When we do po, we identify our real problem by analyzing our data, kasi sabi po kanina, evidence-based. So we have to analyze our data, and then from there, we define and implement our solution plan. So that's do. And then next, we have check. So when we check po, we monitor the effect of our implementation plan, and then we find countermeasures if necessary to improve our solutions. So kung yung solution po natin hindi effective, we do countermeasures. Kung effective naman po siya, we do something to further improve. Okay? So last is act. So when we act, we implement na our solutions and our recommendations, and then we make it a standard. Okay? So doon na po pumapasok, yun pong standard processes po natin when we act. So going back into this cycle, sa DepEd perspective po, when we plan, nakalagay po dito, we do strategic planning. So yun po yung ating BEDP, yung REDP, yung DEDP, and the SIP tools. We do operational planning. So meron po tayong AIP, Work and Financial Plan, we have PPMP, we have the BELCP, and also we do professional development proposals. We do project proposals, we do our OPCRF and IPCRF. So that's all under the plan stage. Next po is we do. So when we go to do na po sa cycle, we now implement our programs, our activities, our projects. So yung PAPs po natin, all of that dito po sa part ng do na i-implement. And then after the implementation, we check. So we monitor and evaluate, we analyze. That is why we do the RMEA, the DMEA, PIR, we do the audits, and we have the MANCOM or the EXICOM or the REXICOM or the DIVCOM. So we check the implementation of our programs, activities, and projects. And finally, we act. So after checking, we do improvement, we do catch up, we do updating, revising, corrections, corrective action, or yun nga po yung sabi ko kanina, if the implementation is effective, we make it as a policy or we make it as a standard. So yan po yung tinatawag nating Deming PDCA cycle. Okay? So dito po sa cycle, applying it to QMS, so applying it to the clauses because we have 10 clauses doon po sa QMS natin. Makikita niyo po dito, nandito po yung PDCA but it's always the top management or the leadership na nasa gitna. So all the top management, all the committees, sila tulong para po ma-implement yung ating PDCA cycle. So when we plan, we need support and operation. When we do performance evaluation. When we check for improvement. And then we act for standardization and then we plan again. So that's why it's a cycle po. Ano po? Kasi hindi naman po lahat ng ini-implement natin may be effective. Like for example, if we have planned or we have implemented a solution and then we found na hindi naman po siya effective doon sa process na intended siya, and then we go back to the drawing board and then we plan again. Okay? So while we have the PDCA cycle, meron po tayo mga tinatawag na, of course, kailangan po natin ng organization na may context. We have the customer requirements. We have to identify the needs and expectations of our relevant interested parties. And we have to see if we will be able to satisfy our customer, our products and services. So we have the customer requirements and then ang ending po niya is we will have the quality management standards para po sa ating mga work processes, para sa ating products and our services. So this is now the process approach of the QMS. First, we have to have a source of inputs. So yung pong source of inputs natin, ito po yung mga processes po natin. Example, internal or external processes that we have for our customers and that are intended for our relevant interested parties. And then for the inputs, so we input, this is in the form of materials, this is in the form of requirements, this is in form of resources, physical or human resources, or financial resources. And then we go now to activities. So this is where we implement if the plans that we have made will actually be workable. Okay? And then after we implement the activities, we'll have the outputs. Doon po malalaman natin kung ano po yung output, ano po yung product, or yung product ng services na in-implement natin. And then after that, of course, we have the receiver of the outputs, which is our customers. So ito po yung schematic representation po of the elements of QMS in a single process. So yun, nabanggit ko po kanina, we have the 10 clauses of ISO. So ano po yung mga 10 requirements po na kailangan natin to be able to be accredited in ISO. So ito po yung parang pinaka-framework niya. So makikita po natin dyan, Of course, number one, we have to determine our scope. We have to have normative references, terms and definitions. And then on the fourth, we have to check the context of our organization. Ano po ang nangyayari na in our organization? And then we have to check leadership. Leadership, we have to check our policies, we have to check our organizational roles, our committees. After that, we start with our planning. We have our support system, and then we start our operations, then we do performance evaluation, and then after that, we do improvement. So isa-isahin po natin siya so that we will be able to understand clause by clause kung ano po yung laman niya. Okay? So clauses 1, 2, and 3, ito po yan. Very basic po. Pag gumagawa po tayo ng project proposal, alam na po natin ito. Normally, these are yung mga initial documents that we have to prepare. So first, we have to check the scope. Yung scope po, it will state the purpose of QMS and the needed requirements. Ano po ang scope noong ating kunyari sa inyo po, sa division office, it's within the division office, or if it's in the region, it's within the regional office. If it's in the school, it's within the school. Next po is the normative references. So that is why you have to be oriented on ISO, on quality management systems, so that you will be able to have references pagdating po doon sa fundamentals, vocabulary, and then next po we have the terms and definitions. Para lang po, ito po yung mga initial processes that we have to start with when we do ISO accreditation. So, dito po sa pang-apat, dito daw po magsisimula yung ating work. Okay? So clause 4.0 is the context of the organization. So when we say context, we have to understand our organization. Ano po ang mga needs, ano po ang mga problems, ano po ang mga issues and concerns, strengths and weaknesses of our organization. So we have to understand our organization and the context of our organization. Next is we have to understand, yung nabanggit ko po, our needs and expectations. Ano po ang ina-expect sa atin ng ating mga customer? Ano po ang ina-expect ng ating mga clientele, ng ating mga interested parties? Ano po yung mga services? Ano po ang mga products that we have to have or we have to provide para po maging effective yung ating mga work processes and ma-reach natin or ma-achieve natin yung expectation ng ating mga kliyente. Of course, we have to determine the scope of the QMS. Ano po ba ang scope ng QMS? Kung buong division, lahat po ba ng divisions within the division, lahat po ba ng units and sections within the division? Kagaya po ng ginawa namin sa regional office, all the 8 functional divisions, including the office of the regional director, we all sat down and then talk about our processes. So, yung QMS po, anuhin po natin siya, ang tawag doon, hihimay-himayin po natin bawat processes po that is intended for our client. So kung alin pong office ang marami pong mga processes or services na pinoprovide sa ating mga clients. So yun po yung malalaman natin, yung scope po ng QMS na ating gustong ma-reach. Okay, so first we have to know who is the responsible person or what office is the responsible office. So how DepEd applies the requirements. So yun nga po, for every process or for every service, meron pong responsible person, meron pong focal person, meron pong focal office or responsible office. So yun po, malalaman niyo po yan when you all sit down and do your SWOT analysis. Okay, so still under clause 4, understanding the organization and its context, meaning the organization is required to determine our internal and external issues relevant to its purpose and strategic direction. That is why we monitor and review information about these issues. So mapapansin po ninyo sa baba, sino po ang mga involved dito. So all processes in the system. So ibig sabihin lahat po tayo kayo within the division who are providing or providing services, lahat po kayo kasama po dito. Okay? So how do you do this? How do you do this? By doing SWOT matrix. Okay? Yung nabanggit ko po kanina. To be able to understand your organization and the context of your organization, you have to see the issues. Meaning to say, you have to identify ano po yung strength, ano yung weakness, ano yung opportunities and threats within your division office. So hindi po tayo dito lang, ito po SWOT in terms of international, national, regional, and local. So ano po, ito po kasi ito yung mga pwedeng mag-affect po sa context ng inyong organization. Like for example, kung strength po ninyo within the division, how is it affecting the region or how is it affecting the school or meron ba siyang effect internationally. So the first thing that you will do is to sit down and do SWOT analysis because you have to understand your services and see if the service is effective or not. And if not, then that's the time that you will start to plan. Okay? You also have to understand the needs and expectations of your interested parties. So sino po ba itong mga interested parties na po ito? This may be internal and this may be external but it may also be internal. So yung interested parties, bawat party po, meron po siyang kanya-kanyang requirements. So we have to monitor and review the information about these interested parties and their requirements. Makikita nyo po as you go along kung ano po yung tinatawag natin na relevant interested parties that affects our processes and our services. Kasi hindi naman po sinabi na ang kliyente lang po natin is coming from the outside. We can also have clients that are coming in from the inside, meaning to say within DepEd. Okay? So ito po ang kasama pa rin po dito is all processes in the system, meaning all offices. And what do you need to do this? You have to have a list of relevant interested parties. So yun po yung list of relevant interested parties. You have to identify all of them so that you will be able to see if your service or if the frontline service or the products or yun nga, the service or the process that you are doing or providing ay applicable siya for all your relevant interested parties. Okay? Next po is understanding the needs. Ganun pa din siya. So ito po yung mga interested parties and their requirements. So ito na po yung sinasabi po natin na it may be internal and also external. So internal meaning students, teachers, external po our parents, our LGUs, NGAs, NGOs, GOCCs, our suppliers and contractors, our partners and donors, and so much more. Kumbaga, kung sino-sino po yung mga nakikipag-transact sa ating pong mga offices are already part of the relevant interested parties. Okay? So, when you sit down, you will have to identify what do they need. Yung bawat party po na yan, ano po yung pangangailangan nila from you, from your office. And from there, you will be able to plan and design or improve the process or service that you are providing. Next po is you have to determine the scope of the QMS. So dito po sa DepEd order na nilabas po nila, ang nakalagay po dito, the scope is the Department of Education QMS covers provision of quality basic education services. Since we are DepEd, so this is provision of quality basic education. The scope covers the management, the core people, core staff, support staff, and outsourced processes of the DepEd. So all ISO requirements are applicable to the DepEd QMS. So to be able to come up with a scope, you have to have a QMS manual that will identify the scope and coverage. So isa po yan, ito pong QMS manual po that you will be preparing, one part of that will be scope and coverage. So next po is QMS and its processes. So the organization is required to establish, implement, maintain, and continually improve processes and interactions. So you have to maintain documented information to be able to support the operation of your processes, and you have to retain the documented information so you will be confident enough that your processes are carried out as planned. Okay. Excuse me po. Sino po ang naka-open ng microphone? Okay. Thank you po. So, you have to do documentation para po sa QMS and processes ninyo. Because yung documentation po na gagawin ninyo will be able to support your process as well as see, and you will be able to see if you have carried your process as planned. Okay? So, saan po yan makikita sa QMS manual? It will be in the process map and quality control plans. So sa quality control plans po, doon na po ninyo ilalagay bawat process, specific processes, sino po ang mga recipients, sino po ang beneficiaries, and ano po yung mga outputs and outcomes nung process po na yon. So makikita po yan lahat sa quality control plans in the QMS manual. Okay? So ito po yung process map ng QMS. Medyo marami-rami po siya. But this is the QMS process map of the CO. Tingnan po natin. Tatlo lang naman po ang nakalagay doon. So we start with clients, so learners and our relevant interested parties. And then we have our relevant interested parties who will benefit from your QMS processes. Okay? Next po, ito po yung na-discuss ko na po kanina. Ito po yung possible controls and checkpoints to monitor and measure performance. So first, you have to have a source of input, and then you have your input, and then you start implementing your activities to gain outputs, and then you check kung yun pong receiver ng outputs is the intended customer or client nung pong output na yun. Okay? We now go to clause number 5, which is leadership. So under leadership po, we will have the leadership and commitment. We also have the policies, and we have the organizational roles, responsibilities, and authorities. So when we emphasize on the role of the leader will ensure that the integration of QMS into the business processes is done. So the leader, i-ensure po niya na talaga pong nag-QMS po tayo at ang processes po natin ay talaga namang nakapasok doon sa ating QMS processes. So he or she will communicate the importance of resources. So, sino po ang involved under leadership? So, this will be the top management, and this sa central office po, this is the secretary, the USEC, the ASEC, the bureau directors, and in the region is the directors and the ARDs, and in the division it's the SDSS and the ASDSS. So, under leadership, sila po yung talagang mangunguna pagdating po sa QMS. Okay? So, policy. The organization is required to establish and maintain a quality policy. Yun pong quality policy statement na binigkas or binigkas lalim natin kanina, yun na po yung quality policy statement ng buong DepEd. So hindi na po yun nagbabago. For the central office, region division of schools, yan na po yung quality policy statement na gagamitin po natin. So this is a short statement made by top management, and it is required that everyone is familiar with this and applies it. Kung you had your orientation po doon sa DO, yung pong quality policy statement, this is already included during our flag raising ceremonies. Kaya po mapapansin po ninyo, after the ano yun, yung lingkod bayan. We also do our state or binibigkas pa rin natin na rin natin yung ating quality policy statement during our flag raising ceremony kasi nasa DepEd order na po yan. Okay? So under policy po, yun pong ating quality policy statement, it speaks about commitment to satisfy applicable requirements. We have strong commitment to continual improvement, and also we have our purpose, our context, and our strategic direction all in one, rolled into one policy statement. So kung mapapansin po ninyo, nakalagay po dito, the Department of Education is committed to provide learners with quality basic education that is accessible, inclusive, and liberating through proactive leadership. So nandito na po agad yung leadership, shared governance, evidence-based policies, standards, and programs, responsive and relevant curricula, highly competent and committed officials and teaching requirements, and sustains client satisfaction through continuous improvement of the quality management system. So, rolled into one na po. Ito na po ang ating quality policy, one DepEd, one QMS. Under po the organizational roles, responsibilities, and authorities, this must be precisely defined. So who will do what and what is expected from people so that you will be able to have accountable and responsible people who will be in charge of our processes. So, ang magdidictate pa rin po nito will be, ang magde-decide pa rin po nito will be top management. And then, dito na po lalabas yung ating organizational structure, our office functions, our job descriptions, designation orders, QMS manual, management core support processes. When we sat down po with the central office and had our SWOT and our yung preparation of our quality control plans, we were given the version 3 of the compendium. So yun pong version 3 ng compendium, yun na po yung sinunod po namin in terms of our office functions and job descriptions. So doon po sa compendium, doon po sa ating mga KRAs, doon pa lang malalaman na natin po who will do what. Kasi specifically stated naman po doon kung sino-sino yung mga in charge ng mga bawat processes. Okay? So, for again, under leadership, we have 10-point leadership scorecard. So, ito pong 10-point leadership scorecard, ititik lang po natin ito po yung 10 na kailangan pong magawa ng ating leadership, yung mga people involved in the QMS. So first, QMS is measured, QP and targets are set. QMS is part of business and not an additional work. Yun po, we have to emphasize this. This is not additional work. This is actually what we do in the department. Dino-document lang po natin. Before kasi we have our front-end services, we have our processes, but ginagawa lang po natin siya daily. Kumbaga, part na siya ng ating routine for everyday so work, no? But at this point, when we do QMS, we will now be documenting all of this. Kaya yung sinasabi kasi nung iba na parang additional work yung QMS, it's not actually additional work. Kaya lang, kaya po tayo medyo nagkakaroon ng, kaya lang siya nagiging challenging because we have to document what we are doing from start to finish. So doon po natin, so really, we have to really sit down and then talagang kailangan natin pag-usapan yung ating pong mga processes. Okay? Next po is resources are planned and provided. It's important po that for every process or for every service, meron po tayong support resources. or support sa ating mga services. So, yun pong resources, pinaplan din po na, in-include po natin yan sa planning so that it will be provided by finance, by top management. Po. Is promoted. We promote continuous improvement here. Legal and other compliance is monitored. Constant emphasis on customer focus. Talagang emphasis po natin is customer focus po tayo. We define our roles, our responsibilities, and our authorities. Management reviews are conducted because also we have to see if what we are doing is effective. And then processes are managed and improved. So if we review our processes, talagang dadating sa point na we will be either we will be keeping the process, or we will be scrapping the process, or we will be improving it for better solutions. Okay, so we now go to clause number 6. So under clause number 6, this is now planning. So under planning po, we will do now actions to address risks and opportunities. We have our quality objectives and planning to achieve. So how we will be able to achieve our objectives, and also we plan for changes pagdating sa dulo. Ano po? So under planning po, these are the actions that will address risks and opportunities. So, for every process po kasi, meron po tayong tinatawag, for every process, we do SWOT. For every process, we do risk and opportunities po. Ano yung risk at ano yung opportunity for that process? Okay? First is we identify the action. And then we integrate these actions to our QMS. We evaluate the effectiveness of these actions by using risk-based thinking approach. So, we maintain the documented information, and doon po sa documentation, we document the risks and opportunities, and we document also the processes on how we will be able to mitigate that risk. So, paano po natin ma-address, ma-alis, alleviate, or malilesen yung mga risk ng process na ating gagawin. Okay? So, sino po ang mga taong involved when doing risk and opportunities? So, lahat po ng process owners are involved here. Meaning to say, lahat po ng may mga hawak na programs, or lahat po ng mga divisions, functional divisions within the schools division, lahat po ng units and sections, lahat po ng mga education program supervisors who are handling programs, or lahat po ng mga offices na nagpro-provide po ng specific frontline service. Okay? So saan po makikita ito? Makikita po SWOT matrix sa risk registry and opportunity registry. These are all part of the QMS manual. So as we go along po, makikita nyo na din po kung ano po yung mga part ng QMS manual that you will be preparing. Okay? Para po mabuo yung manual ng inyong schools division. Okay? So the actions to address risks and opportunities use the risk-based thinking approach, meaning to say we do forward thinking, we identify our risks, our changes, or our concerns that in the future, kumbaga future thinking, ano po yung mga pwedeng maging risks and opportunities in doing that process. And then we identify also opportunities for improvement. So, yun pa yung tinatawag nila na risk-based thinking approach. So, under the quality objectives and planning, we have this quality objectives that will also be the objectives of our process owners. So, ano po yung mga objectives when we do this? We have our goals must be related to quality, must achieve our goals, must achieve quality. It is linked to the quality policy statement that we had kanina. It is measurable. So, kailangan po measurable yung pong process na gagawin po natin. We take into account applicable requirements. It is relevant to what we are doing. It is relevant to the times now. It is relevant to the topic or to the clients that we have, to the customer that we have, to the relevant interested parties that we have. Okay? We also, it is monitored. It is kailangan monitor natin siya, and it has to be communicated. It has to be promoted. So hindi lang po siya alam ng isang tao, dapat po alam siya ng buong office. Okay? It is updated as appropriate. So dahil po monitor natin siya, ine-evaluate natin siya, nadating yung time that we need also to update our processes as appropriate or as needed. Okay? And then, the most important thing is we maintain the documented information. So the term really here is because everything that we do here has to be documented. Okay? So saan po nakikita itong mga quality objectives po na to when we do our planning, when we do the BEDP, the RBEP, the RBEP, the DEDP, the AIP, OPCR, IPCR, WFP, and PPMP. So dyan po lahat lumalabas or dyan po natin, dyan nag-emanate yung atin pong mga quality objectives. Okay? So quality objectives and planning. So how do you create your plan? Then how do you create the plan with quality objectives? So ito po yung mga guide questions that you can address or you can use while designing or crafting your quality objectives. So what will be done? Ano po yung kailangan gawin? What resources are required? Ano po kailangan ninyo para ma-implement ninyo yung kailangan nyong gawin? So, who is responsible? Sino ang gagawa? When will it be completed? Hanggang kailan po ang kanyang? Ano po yung timeline ng process or ng service? And how will the results be evaluated? M&E. Okay? So this will serve as your guide questions when you sit down and think about your quality objectives. So, planning of changes. So, kailangan sa dulo, yung process na ginawa mo, naging ineffective siya, kailangan nating palitan sa dulo, or kailangan nating i-update, or kailangan nating i-scrap. And then, to go back to the drawing board. So, pwedeng ganun. So when we say change management, the purpose of the changes and their consequences are identified or stated, and then you have to ensure that the integrity of the QMS is intact. And you have to have available resources when you do change management, and the allocation or reallocation of responsibilities and authorities are well designed. Po, kumbaga alam ng mga tao, aware po ang mga tao na sila po ay responsible and accountable for this process or for this service. Okay? So sino po ang kasama po dyan? Lahat pa rin po tayo, all process owners. So sa part po ng QMS manual, dito siya magre-reflect sa ad hoc change management teams and policy guidelines in case that you will be having changes in your plans. Okay? We now go to clause number 7. Are we okay pa po? Okay pa po ba tayo? Baka gusto po ng health break. Pag-health break po muna tayo for 5 minutes. Dahil para po, or okay pa po ba kayo?
Yes, ma'am. Okay pa. Pero
Okay po ba? Okay, sige po. Pero nasusundan naman po yung ating topic.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Sige. Let's have a 5-minute health break po. So then after that, we'll discuss the clause 7 to 10. Okay? Para baka meron pong gustong mag-CR muna or may gagawin saglit. Let's be back at 9 It's 9:53 now. Let's be back at 9:58. Sige po.
Thank you, Ma'am She.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ma'am Noor. Okay, 9:58 po. Sige, let's go back to our session. Okay na po ba? Naririnig po ba ako? Am I loud and clear?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Maraming salamat po.
Yes, po.
So okay, thank you po. Let's now go to clause 7.0, which is support. So nabanggit na po natin kanina, support involves resources, competence, meaning human resources, awareness, communication, and then the documented information. So yan po yung mga under po ng clause 7.0, which is support. Okay? Under resources po, we have the general resources. Yung tinatawag natin general resources na sinasabi, so financial resources, yung atin pong general appropriations, our MOOE and all. So, dyan po yan, general resources. Next po is our people. So, our human resources. Teka po, wait lang ha. Okay, yan. Next po is our people or our human resources, our personnel. The third one is infrastructure. So ito na po yung ating admin, yung ating pong ICT infra. So ano po yung mga available na gamit na pwede natin gamitin. So this is under infrastructure. Next po is our environment. So this will be the under environment. Physical environment, mental environment, yun po yung learning environment. So, yan po yung environment. And then, monitoring and measuring resources. Yun pong ating for our M&E, for our monitoring and evaluation. And organizational knowledge. Kung ano po yung ating knowledge about our organization, this is part of our resources. Next po, we have competence. So under competence po, we have to determine the necessary competence of each personnel. So we ensure that persons are competent in terms of education, in terms of training, in terms of experience. Ano po, parang nag-a-apply lang sa vacancy. So tinitingnan po natin ng educational requirement, tinitingnan po natin ang trainings attended, and then the experience, the pinagdaanan ng ating personnel. We take action to gain the competence. So evaluate the action taken. So did the employee become competent after undergoing the training? So kagaya po nito, we're having the awareness training. So prior this training, nasaan po kayo? After this training, nasaan na kayo? So have you, did this orientation make you competent enough to do ISO or make you understand enough to be able to do QMS already in your respective stations? So we also retain documented information as evidence of competency. So for every person, ano po yung kanyang competence. So ang in charge po dito will be the HRDD and admin personnel because they are the ones in charge of personnel documents. Yung personnel documents. So yun pong competence, makikita po yan sa ating mga 201 files, sa ating pong mga training certificates, sa ating mga TNEs in training needs analysis, in training evaluation records, our succession plan. It can also be seen in our IDPs, di ba? Sa ating pong mga OPCRF, IPCRF, may naka-attach po tayo. Individual development plan. Okay? So pwede din po na doon mag-reflect yung inyong competence or your ano po yung mga specific na mga competence na kailangan nyo pang magkaroon. Okay? So yun po, under resources, we have to check competence of our people. Next po is awareness. So people are aware of the quality policy statement. So yun nga po, dapat aware po tayo na ito pong quality policy statement has to be recited. Ayun, nahanap ko na yung word. Kanina ko pa hinahanap. Has to be recited every flag raising ceremony. But also, you have to bear into mind, bear into heart na the quality policy statement. Kumbaga, para na yung vision, mission, and core values natin. Naka-embed na yan sa atin bilang personnel na itong quality policy statement, ito na yung sinusundan natin. We have to be aware also of our quality objectives. We have to be aware of our contributions to the effectiveness of QMS. So we have to know our responsibilities, our accountabilities in terms of QMS. Yung kung kunyari may dumating na kliyente, sabihin, di sa akin yan, doon yan, ibabato natin kung kanino man. Ngayon, mabuti sana kung alam nyo kung saan nyo ibabato, paano kung hindi nyo alam kung sino pala yung person in charge. So it's important that for every service or every process, alam po ninyo kung anong office ang nag-act on that, kung sino po ang focal person on that particular service or process or program or activity. Also, we have to be aware of the implications of not conforming with QMS requirements because, once we have the accreditation, ino-audit po tayo niyan. Ino-audit po tayo kung talagang sinusunod natin yung ating mga processes, kung talagang nagkakaroon ba tayo ng continuous improvement, kung talaga bang nasusunod natin kung ano yung nandoon sa manual natin. Okay? So, sino po ang involved dito? All employees. So, saan po natin ginagawa ito? So, this is done, yung awareness. This is done during QMS awareness sessions like this one, orientations, recitation of the quality policy statement, onboarding or induction, and even in our IPCR. So, kailangan po tayo ay aware that what we are doing is part of the quality objectives and is contributing to our effectivity, to our effectiveness as a QMS accredited office. Okay? Also, we have to have communication. So there has to be a sense of community and teamwork. Yun nga po yung sinasabi natin. Hindi lang po iisang tao ang nakakaalam po. Dapat po ito ay naalalaman po ng lahat. So, ang tanong po dito, what, when, parang 5 Ws and 1 H lang po. What, when, with whom, how, and then who. So, yung communication problem po normally that we have, the most common cause of non-conformities in our services and or processes. Kasi po, once we are audited, minsan yung auditor, pagpasok pa lang sa gate, sa guard pa lang, yung guard pa lang tatanungin na niya tungkol sa process. Paano kung yung guard hindi niya alam yung process? Paano kung yung guard hindi niya alam kung nasaan office in charge, kasi yung tao ang in charge. So, doon sa audit, bagsak na kagad kayo sa guard pa lang. Hindi pa nga nakapasok sa inyong opisina. Wala na, minus points na yun sa'yo. So, posible pa na mabawi yung accreditation mo. Diba? So, it's very important na all of us in the office, all of us in the division, in the units, in the sections, and even our utility, our security are aware of these things. Ano po? So, kapag po ganito, medyo mahihirapan po tayong i-defend yung ating pong processes. Kung kung nakita po ng nag-audit na, hindi naman to standard. Kasi if it's standard, everybody knows about it. So, ibig sabihin, kung kayo lang ang may alam, hindi yan standard, di ba? So, ang note dito, kapag po incomplete, ambiguous, inaccurate, ang information, this may cause problems. So, nakalagay po dito, ang in charge po with communication is PAO, which is us. Sa division office po is your division information officers. However, hindi naman po siya natatapos sa amin, kumbaga sa amin, hindi lang po kami sa PAO. So we coordinate with our process owners, and then also our process owners help us in communicating these processes to their staff or to their people. Ano po, kumbaga during Mancom or during Rexicom or in the division during the DivCom, you can do your awareness sessions, you can do your orientations, but those people that have been oriented, dapat sila din i-pass on nila yung information, di ba? So if you are the chief of a division, you will now sit down with your people and discuss this day. So ito yung napag-usapan. Ito yung so that there will be community communication na tinatawag or teamwork with peace. Kasi kung aasahan po natin na isang tao lang ang magsasabi para sa lahat, medyo matatagalan po yun. But kung magtutulong-tulong po kayo in terms of communicating all this, mas mabilis po yung process. Ano po? So yun pong communication, this will be in form of communication framework or communication plans, or you can also do it in your DepEd websites, in your social media platforms, and there are other information or dissemination mechanisms or tools. You can prepare IEC materials, you can do infographics, you can prepare brochures. Alam niyo po yan, all forms of information dissemination and using all channels of help you communicate fast and timely your information. So, yun po, para po lahat po ng tao alam din. So, kung usapan po during your DivCom, so after the DivCom, it is now your task as the head of the division. For example, CID or SGOD, the chief of the CID and SGOD will now talk with his or her staff and then communicate all these things na pinag-usapan during the DivCom so that lahat po ng tao ay nakakaalam, lahat po ng tao ay aware, lahat po ng tao ay oriented. Ngayon, sino po ang mag-orient sa ating pong mga utilities, sa ating pong mga security personnel? So ito po mga office in charge. It can be done by the admin division or it can be done by kung sino yung na-designate ng top management na mag-orient sa kanila. Or pwede naman na during you can have a office-wide orientation and then you can have them sit down during the orientation para first-hand din yung information. So yun po, depende na po sa inyo yan how you will communicate all these things to your people. Next po is documented information. Yun, paulit-ulit po tayo kanina na when we do QMS, it has to be documented. So the information must be controlled and maintained. And then there should be evidence of conformance. Okay? So when we create and update our documents, meron po siyang tinatawag na controlling activities. So when we create and update our documents, we do identification, we do description, we provide format or templates, and then we have a mechanism for review and approval. Okay, so that is under create and update. But how do you control these documents? So the controlling activities is these documents has to be foremost available. So kailangan available siya pag may kailangan. Kailangan din ay suitable siya. Kailangan din po is protected siya. Especially those documents that are meron siyang mga confidentiality clause or mga documents na hindi natin kailangan hindi pwedeng ilabas in public, yung mga exempted documents under the Data Privacy Act. So kailangan po yung mga documents po natin protected in order that our documents will not be used improperly and also to maintain the integrity of that document. So, of course, kailangan meron po siyang mechanism for distribution if it's for the distribution, a mechanism for access, for retrieval, and use. So, meron po yung mga guidelines na tinatawag po natin. So, another is, meron po tayong mechanism for storage and preservation. Meron na po kami. Sa record section po namin, we already have an archiving, archive or an archiving room kung saan lahat po ng mga documents that must be maintained or retained or sustained or controlled nandoon sa archive. So, we have also to have a mechanism or guidelines for the control of versions. Meron kasi mga documents na, syempre, we update our documents. So, meron tinatawag na version 1, version 2, version 3. So, kailangan po meron tayong control over that so that we will be able to see ano nasaan po nagsimula yung document. Where is the original version? Where is the updated version? Nasaan yung second edition, third edition, or fourth edition, or whatever. And then, we have to have a mechanism for retention and disposition. So, retention, if we will be retaining that document. Disposition, if we will be disposing the document. So, dito po sa regional office, we already have parang quarterly, I don't know kung quarterly or every 6 months, the disposal of documents. This is in coordination with the National Archives of the Philippines. So sila mismo po yung pumupunta dito at kinukuha documents na kailangan i-dispose, kailangan i-dispose kasi hindi tayo basta-basta po nagdi-dispose ng mga documents, especially public documents. Kasi syempre, yan po ay mga official, considered as official documents. Okay? So yung record section po namin dito, meron na po silang coordination with National Archives. So I don't know kung yung record section nyo po ay ganun din. So I'm hoping na ganun din po yung setup sa inyo so that you will be able to have a mechanism for the retention documents. Especially yung mga years back ng mga documents, ilang taon lang ba yung dapat i-retain sa record section, up to how many years lang yung pwedeng ma-retain sa record section, how many years yung dapat mapunta na sa archives, and how many years yung pwede nang i-dispose. Can be disposed, what kind of who will be disposing it. Hindi naman pwedeng isang tao ang in charge. That is why po nakikipag-usap tayo with National Archives. Even po yung ating mga scratch paper. Scratch paper, minsan hindi po yan dinidispose, especially kung yung mga scratch paper na yan ay may mga laman na mga information, legal information, financial information, or mga important information na hindi natin pwedeng basta itapon lang. Ano po? So, for the documented information, ang in charge po dito is the KMT or the Knowledge Management Team of the QMS and our record section, of course, record section ninyo dyan. So, for saan po ito makikita? Doon po sa Documented Information Management Procedure, Records Management Manual. Meron po tayong Records Management Operations Manual, di ba? Na sinusunod from the central office. So doon So we now go to clause 8.0 or the operation. So ito na po yung pinaka-meat ng ating QMS. So under operation, we have the operational planning and control. We also have the requirements of products and services, the design, under the requirements, what are the design and development of products and services, the required design and development of products and services. And then under that also is the control of externally provided processes, products and services, production and services provision, release of products and services, and the control of non-conforming outputs. Okay, so that's all under operation. Now, let's discuss one by one. So 8.1 is the operational planning and control. So dito na po papasok ang atin po mga processes which are either planned and controlled processes. Okay? So dito po papasok, we plan, we implement, and then we control. So kung di ba, naalala niyo po yung kanina, yung Deming cycle, the PDCA cycle. So it's parang ganito din po yan. So we plan, we implement, and then we control. If we have now the processes, we determine the requirements of each process. We determine the requirements of each process. We establish criteria for each process. We determine what resources are needed for each process. Sorry. determine the resources needed for each process. Sige ba? Hello. Okay, sige, sige. Sige lang, saglit lang naman. Hello. Welcome to DepEd Mimaropa.
Sir Zuli, lady siya. Nire-refer sa atin ni Cardinal.
Oo.
Si Engineer Hans and si Miss Mike.
Hello, Ms. Maika. Si ano?
That's number na.
Okay. Tangkad, ano? Thank you. Oo, pupunta na tayo sa dietitian, Miss Jen. Oo. Thank you. Sorry for that po. Kasi may mga bago kaming mga employees. Ang bilis po ng turnover dito ng sa regional office. Marami pong vacancy lagi dito. So kung gusto niyo pong lumipat, okay po, okay lang po mag-apply dito. So meron kami mga bagong mga kasama. Okay, going back. So speaking of processes, yun nga po, for every process, we have to determine the requirement of each process. We have to establish the criteria for each process. And we have to determine the resources that are needed for each process. We implement controls for each process. And of course, we retain the documented information for each process. So, mapapansin niyo po, ini-emphasize ko po dito for each process because when you do your quality control plan, you will not do your process as a generic process. You will your process one by one doon po sa quality control plan. So that is why it's very important that for every process, nandun na po yung anong tawag doon, nasa mindset na po natin na for every process has its own requirements, every process has its own criteria, and every process has its own resources and controls. Okay? So sino po yung mga involved na tao dito? Again, all the process owners, all the personnel. And nabanggit ko na po na ay magre-reflect sa QMS manual. The part is the quality control plans and of course your citizens charter. So I hope that you have your own charter in the division because that will be very helpful for you when you sit down and actually do your workshop for the quality control plans. So magiging very useful po siya. So kung ang division po ninyo is wala pang citizen charter or you have not updated your citizen charter, I think it's a very good initial activity for you to now your citizen charter because that will be very helpful when you sit down and do your quality control plans. Next, requirements for the products and services that you provide. So under these requirements, we have the customer, we do customer communication. Excuse me po ha. Kasi pader lang ang pagitan namin ng isang office. Kung naririnig niyo po sila, maingay sila. Okay. We do customer communication, we determine customer requirements, we review these customer requirements, and then we add or we input changes in the requirements. Okay, so again, for each process, we do this part. Okay? So kaya po, sino po ang mga intended na gagawa po nito? All process owners. So kung sino po yung mga process owners in the office. And these requirements will be specifically stated in your quality control plan, citizen charter. It can also be seen or you can also check your compendium. Minsan sa compendium meron din, but doing your quality control plans, you have to have your legal basis, meron dito job orders and contracts, and of course, you have to identify your communication platforms. So how you will be able to communicate all these things to your people and to your clients. Because yun nga, ina-emphasize ko po kanina, first and foremost, the people that should know about your processes are the people within your office. And then after that, you communicate your processes to your customers or to your clients. It's very important po na naka-embed na sa ating anong tawag dito? Daily routine or routine natin na kung yung mga processes na yon para at least hindi na po tayo manibago, sanay na po tayo. But ang isa naman pong anong tawag doon? Challenge doon, if we are used to doing a process and then na yun pala ay kulang na process. Kasi doon, when you do your quality control plans, talagang from end to end, i-spec from this point going to this point, kanino napunta, who is the person in charge, who will be the beneficiary. So yun po, it may sound very tedious, but you will be able to, anong tawag dito? You will be able to understand your process better. Ano po? Next will be the design and development of the products and services. So, as planned and controlled processes, each process has its own design and has its own development process. So, nag-start tayo with planning, and then when you plan, you were able to provide inputs, and then you were able to provide controls. And then after those controls, you will be able to get your outputs. And then when you get your outputs, that will be the time that you will determine if what you have inputted are actually effective. So it's either you retain that or you make changes. Okay, when you retain that, meaning you make it a standard, or you update the process and then make some changes. Okay? So, under design and development, sino po yung gagawa nito? Again, these are process owners who will design and develop the services or the materials or the products for the QMS. So, again, makikita po siya sa quality control plans, doon po sa inyong service designs, design specifications ninyo, and to your system design. Kaya po, yung pinaka-meat ng inyong QMS manual, which is the quality control plan, doon nyo na po i-lay down yung inyong bawat process that na meron po ang inyong opisina. Okay? Next po is the control of externally provided processes, products, and services. So ito po yung mga outsourced processes and services na meron po tayong mga external providers. So external providers, meaning to say, ito po yung nakikipag-transact po tayo with yung providers of service. Kung mga yung mga sourced out na mga resources. Sino po yung mga involved dito? Asset management, because asset management deals with suppliers, back because deals with bidders, and then of course the end users, because we are the actual program owners of these services. For example, yun po kapag bumibili po tayo ng mga supplies and materials, venues for our trainings. Dito po yan, yun yung tinatawag po natin na mga outsourced processes. Okay? So makikita A4 or the government. Of course, pwede din po itong mag-reflect sa external provider evaluation procedure ng inyo pong outsourced service or process. Okay? For the production and services, ang inis natin dito, what we are doing, trying to provide here is how you will be controlling your services. So when you control your services, you have to have a standard operating procedure. So meron na pong SOP na tinatawag. So this is our process. This is the standard operating procedure of our process or of our service or of our product. Ano po? So when you prepare your SOP, the control service. Next is you have to identify and trace yung service, saan siya papunta, saan siya galing. Okay? So property belonging to customers and external providers. Preservation, how will you be able to preserve your service? Post-delivery, control of changes. Ito na naman tayo, if ever karon po ng changes. So meron po tayo tinatawag na mga control mechanism for that. And then the quality control plans and citizens charter, it has to be stated or specifically stated in your quality control plans and citizens charter kung ano po yung mga SOPs o tinatawag na po standard operating procedures for every process that you have. Okay? So sino po ang in charge nito? Again, the process owners. And this will be seen or provided in the safeguarding guidelines or policies, service tracking, or document tracking. So dyan nyo po yan makikita yung mga procedures, standard operating procedures po na yan. Next po is the release of products and services. So when we release our products and services, we have to check our output versus the inputs before releasing our service or our product or our process. Di ba yung kanina na pinag-usapan natin, we were able to provide inputs, and then after the inputs, we're able to see kung ano po yung outputs na yon. So doon sa outputs, i-check po natin input versus output. Kung yun po bang dedicated input natin was able to achieve the output that is expected of that input. So for that, we will have a verification process. So to be able to retain the documented information, you have evidence of conformity with the acceptance criteria and the traceability to the person authorizing the release. Okay? Again, ito po ay in charge po ang lahat ng process owners, and this will be gleaned in the quality control plans, in the citizens charter, in the receiving copy of the record section, in the approval or signature of authorities, for example, signed by the regional director or signed by the schools division superintendent. Okay? So ito po yung mga products and services that we let out to our clients. We have to have an evidence of conformity. Kaya nga di ba po, pagka kunyari meron tayong we are serving a suspension doon po sa isang teacher, for example. So yung suspension na yon kailangan po mapirmahan ng teacher as received, di ba? Because that is an evidence of conformity. Pagka po meron tayong mga letters na pinadala sa atin pong mga SDS, ASDS, principals or teachers, yung second copy or yung third copy has to be signed as received, right? Because that will now serve as your evidence of conformity. Ibig sabihin, hindi niya na pwedeng i-deny na hindi niya alam, na hindi niya natanggap, kasi pinirmahan niya yon. Of course, yun din ang magiging control mo to be able to trace sino yung person na sumulat, sino yung person na nag-authorize, sino yung person na pumirma doon sa document. So yun po yung tinatawag natin na controls for the verification processes and retaining documented information. Next po is the control of non-conforming outputs. So under control of non-conforming outputs, we take appropriate action on services, products which did not conform with the requirements. So non-conformity can be detected before, during, and or after the delivery of services or products. Okay? So dito po, doon sa control of non-conforming outputs, we do correction, we do segregation, we do containment, and we even return. We return the service or the product or yun, that is found to have non-conformed doon sa service na yon. So under that, this is again, in charge po dito ang ating po mga process owners, and this will be found, the control of non-conforming outputs will be part, again, of the quality control plans and of your citizen charter, and pwede din pong magkaroon ng specific na corrective action procedure doon po sa inyong QMS manual if in case mayroon pong mga ganitong pagkakataon. Okay, we now go to clause 9.0 or the performance evaluation. So sa performance evaluation, ito na po yung monitoring, ito na po yung measurement, analysis, evaluation. So this will now be where we will be audited, yung internal audit. When you do your QMS committees, meron pong isang committee doon na tinatawag na internal audit. Meaning to say, ito po yung mga auditors within your office who will audit your processes. So, ibig sabihin, bago pa siya ma-external audit, i-internal audit na siya para at least doon pa lang malaman na kung meron pong mga lapses, kung meron pong mga loopholes, kung meron pong mga pagkakamali o dapat i-correct, kailangan i-update, kailangan i-scrap ng mga processes. Doon pa lang po sa internal audit, malalaman nyo na po yun. So doon po, kung sino po yung mga internal, madedesignate sa inyo ng mga internal auditors, these people will have to go through a different training on auditing, internal auditing, para po madali sa kanila na gawin yung kanilang part as internal auditors. And then after the internal audit, so the internal auditors will now give their reports to top management, and then there will now become a management review. So doon na po yung pag-uusapan na po in holistically yung pong mga problema within the office, kung ano po yung naging issues or concerns or challenges or bottlenecks in your QMS preparation. Okay? So when we do monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation, first and foremost, we have to answer these questions. So first, what do we monitor? What are the methods that we will use for monitoring? When are we gonna do our monitoring? And when will we do our analysis and evaluation of the results of the monitoring? So dito po, ano po yung i-monitor natin, ano po yung method na gagamitin natin, kailan i-monitor at kailan i-analyze yung results ng monitoring natin. Okay? So dun po sa method, dun na po pasok dito yung ating customer feedback and customer satisfaction. So ano po yung feedback and customer satisfaction? If you remember, last December, there was an urgent memo from the central office requesting us to submit our the citizen client survey, service survey. Tama ba ako? Survey form. Satisfaction survey. Ayun. Meron akong angel dito sa tabi. Citizen Client Satisfaction Survey, which is the CCSS na tinatawag. And the CCSS of our performance-based bonus. So, yung pong pagsasubmit po niyan, so kung meron pa pong hindi nakasubmit sa inyo, makikita po yan. So we have to, na lahat po ay nag-submit noong December 29 and then it was extended January 5, right? Ng PM. So I hope that all your... So doon po sa CCSS, we will be able to glean or to see or to identify yun pong mga feedback. And if our customers have been satisfied with our services and with our processes. So yun po, doon po papasok ngayon yung customer feedback and customer satisfaction. That could be one method of monitoring, and that can be yung sagot nila. Kung nakasimangot, ibig sabihin, hindi sila nasayahan. Kung sobrang nakangiti naman sila, ibig sabihin super happy sila sa service na binigay po ng office. Okay? So the dapat QMS, sino po ang in charge sa monitoring and evaluation? So ito po ay MNE, so sa regional office, this is primarily Quality Assurance Division. Pero per office po, meron pa rin din naman mga designated na MNE, anong tawag nito? MNE MNE personnel, I don't know, mali, hindi personnel designated to be included in a MNE mechanism. So, pwede din po yung gumagawa ng analysis and evaluation, monitor methods, analysis, and then all process owners po are involved in this. So, makikita po ito sa QMS manual. Doon niyo po ito makikita sa evaluation mechanisms. Makikita pa rin po sa quality control plan. Pwede din po makita sa CSAT procedure, and of course, doon po sa ating customer feedback forms. So, recently po, itong January lang, we released a memo signed by our RD, strictly implementing now the CCSS in the division and in the schools. So, meron naman pong provided na template that we just have to use, and yun pong CCSS is not only used for walk-in, kasama din po yung telephone calls, kasama din po yung mga emails, kasama din po ang social media po ninyo. Dapat po meron po silang kanya-kanyang CCSS survey form. So meron pong Google Sheet, sa online na hindi makakapag sagot ng form physically. So, pwede nyo pong gamitin yung mga Google Sheet form na provided din po ng central office. Okay? Para po doon sa inyong customer feedback and customer action. And kaya din po, we issued a memo early on the year para din po ma-remind po ang lahat ng offices that we have to do CCSS for the whole year. Dahil pagdating ng December ulit, tatanungin na naman tayo ulit for the results of the CCSS. So para meron na po tayong pinanghahawakan, may MOV na tayo na magagamit for our submission. Okay? Punta ka sa'yo later. Sorry. Ayun po. Ayun po ang kasi itong pinto namin ay unang-unang office here in the office. Kaya masyadong busy. Okay? So, under pa din po ng performance evaluation, we have the A&E, so analysis and evaluation. So, in the analysis and evaluation, we have to make sure that we have conformity with our products, conformity of products and services. The degree of customer satisfaction is already identified. And then we will see also the performance of our QMS. If planning is effective, effectiveness of actions taken to address risks and opportunities, performance of our external providers, and then the need for improvements to the QMS. So dun po lahat yan makikita when we do our analysis and evaluation of the monitoring report provided to us. Okay? Next po will be the internal audit. Yung sinasabi ko nga po kanina that you will have internal auditors. So internal quality audit at planned intervals. Like for example, yung aming internal auditors dito, parang they do their audits every month, every quarter, I think. So then after that, they provide the report to the top management. So For the internal audit, they will be evaluating the conformity of the organization with the requirements of the QMS. So maganda siya kasi kayo-kayo pa lang, kumbaga within the office pa lang, alam nyo na kung nagko-conform kayo o hindi. So para at least you'll be able to plan, to establish, to implement, and maintain an audit program. So doon po sa audit program, it will help you with your conformity with your processes. So, pagka nakita po ng internal auditor na medyo may problema tong process na to, medyo may loophole tong process na to, or medyo may challenge or may risk itong process na to, they will be able to give suggestions and recommendations already to the process owner na kung paano siya pwedeng palitan, paano siya pwedeng i-update. So, sino po ang involved in the internal audit? Ang involved po dito is the internal quality auditors, the designated internal quality auditors, and the QMR or the quality management representative. Sa QMR, ang QMR po natin is nasa QAD. Okay? So, sila po yung in charge po dito sa internal quality auditors. And the audit results or the list of qualified auditors, audit program, and itinerary, this will now form part of the QMS manual. Next po is the management review. So sa management review, ito po yung parang normal na ginagawa natin, Mancom, Rexecom, DivCom, or pwede din naman po na it's a specific review or a specific activity review specifically for QMS. Pwede din naman po ganon. So the management review, the agenda of the management review is to see the status of actions from previous management review. So dun sa previous management review, ito yung napag-usapan. So ngayong management review, kamusta na yung agreements natin noong previous management review. Again, one of the agendum is changes in the internal and external issues, and of course, information on the QMS performance. Kamusta po tayo in terms of our performance as a QMS office? Kamusta po ang customer satisfaction? Kamusta po yung objective targets natin sa ating programs? Kamusta po yung performance ng ating processes? Kamusta yung meron po ba tayong mga non-conformities or corrective actions na kailangan gawin? How is our monitoring and measurement results? Kamusta? How is our audit results? Ano po yung nakita during the audit? And what is the performance of our external providers? Yung mga suppliers natin, yung mga bidders, yung mga outsourced providers natin, kamusta po yung kanilang performance? So who will be sitting down for the management review? So this will be top management with the QMR. So meaning to say it could be the RD with all the chiefs and unit heads, or it could be the SDS with the ASDS, with the division chiefs, with the unit and section heads. Okay? So ito yung uupo for the management review. So for the management review, we have to have a procedure, we have to have the memo, we have to have the agenda list, and of course, it's important that we have the minutes of the meeting. Otherwise, you have nothing to talk on when you discuss previous management reviews. Anong napag-usapan nung last time? Hindi nyo na maalala kasi wala kayong minutes of the meeting. So it's very important na nare-record yung every meeting para nababalikan po ninyo kung ano yung pinag-usapan, ano yung agreements, ano yung sino yung mga accountable persons na designate or kung kanino nabigay yung mga tasks. So very important po yung documentation. Once again, documentation. So still under management review, this is led by the top management. And another agenda, the fourth agenda, is the adequacy of resources. So based po doon sa based po dun sa ating status of action, sa changes, sa issues, sa information on our performance, nakadagdag pa yung sa problema natin, yung resources. So we have to see or identify or state if there is adequate resources used or provided for each process. Okay. Excuse me po. Ayan, okay na. Next po is we have to see for ourselves the effectiveness of the actions taken to address risk and opportunities. So, kamusta po? Natanggal ba, naalis ba natin, na-lessen ba natin yung risk, na-improve ba, na heighten ba natin yung opportunities or dagdagan ba na yung opportunities? Especially opportunities for improvement. So yun naman po, that is, I think that's the basic reason why we are doing the review, because we need to be continually improving with our services, with our processes, and with the delivery of our products, of our education-related services. Okay? So, again, nandito na tayo sa pang-10. The last clause is 10.0 or the improvement. So, ito na po yung tinatawag natin na continuous improvement. Hindi po tayo, it's not as if we are sitting on our laurels already na kumbaga ay naka-design na siya at na anong tawag dito, hindi design eh. Kumbaga nakaukit na, yan ang lalim ng salita. Nakaukit na siya sa bato at hindi na siya pwedeng palitan. Hindi po ganun. Day by day, nagkakaroon po tayo ng mga issues. Yun nga po, we were able to, once we identify the issues, the concerns, the risks, and the opportunities, we will be able now to create a mechanism for improvement. Okay, so how are we going to improve? General improvement, improvement for our non-conformity or correcting our previous actions, and continual improvement. How we'll be able to improve the services that we provide. Okay? So under general, ito na po yung sinasabi natin that since during the management review, we were able to lay down the opportunities that came up in the performance of our office, in the delivery of our service, in the performance of our processes. So there will be opportunities that will come up for improvement. Okay? So yun nga po, baka as we go along, akala natin super perfect na, pero noong in-implement natin ay pwede pa palang i-improve, ay pwede pa palang palitan, or ay pwede pa palang, anong tawag dito, pwede pa palang baguhin. Okay? So, when we identify our opportunities for improvement, we will be able to determine and then select and then implement actions that will enhance customer satisfaction. So sa tingin natin, di ba, we're able to see the analysis of the CCSS, and then mostly our customer were not satisfied with our service. So how will we be able to enhance customer satisfaction? Para sa susunod na taon, puro na nakasmile yung sagot ng ating mga customer at hindi na nakasimangot. Kunyari, ang improvement is for anong tawag nito? For physical improvement. It may be improvement of our personnel. It may be improvement of our infrastructure. So titingnan po natin lahat yun kung saan po tayo pwedeng pumasok kung saan po tayo pwedeng makakita ng opportunities for improvement. So, dito po sa opportunities for improvement, tingnan po natin, are there things that need correction? And if there are things that need correction, what will be the action that we will do to correct to ensure that there will be corrective action? Okay, paano natin i-correct yung correction, yung nangangailangan ng correction? Okay, so when we do corrective action, it's tantamount to doing continual improvement already, di ba? Kasi we are not sitting on our on our laurels, but we are correcting the previous process na sa tingin natin hindi siya naging effective. So we are continually improving, we are updating, and then after that, we'll be able to get breakthrough changes. Kunyari, yung isang process mo last year, nakakuha ka ng lahat ng ang survey form mo, ang lahat ang chinika na kasi mangot. And then this year, you will be able to improve your process. So by as we go along through the year, araw-araw makikita mo yung CCSS form mo. Dumadami na yung nag-check ng nakangiti, di ba? So you are able to create a breakthrough change. So yung process mo na ineffective before, ngayon effective na siya. So when you do when you are getting the when you are able to get or gain or achieve breakthrough changes, it's also being innovative already. So you already innovated in your process. So doon po sa innovation, it now can be anong tawag dito? Because you are doing innovation and because of these changes, nakaisip ka ng innovation, that is now the time for you to reorganize. So itong mga tao na to na dating gumagawa ng process na to, ibig sabihin, hindi pala, pwede pala siyang palitan, you reorganize. Or itong process na to, hindi naman pala kailangan sa PAO, pwede naman pala sa ibang office. So, pwede mo siyang ilipat sa ibang office or you can coordinate with other offices to be able to ensure that hindi lang si Pao pala yung pwedeng gumawa, pwede palang gawin ng lahat ng opisina. So you are doing reorganization now to be able to improve your process, to be able to improve your service. So ibig sabihin, hindi lang po yung isang accountable office ngayon ang pwede mong habulin. Pwede mo nang habulin yung lahat ng opisina because they are now converging with each other to be able to improve that service. Okay? So yung process owners po again will be in charge of these opportunities for improvement, and these opportunities for improvement or these improvements or these breakthrough changes and innovations will now be ano tawag dito? Will now be seen in your ML results. Nandun na siya sa change management results nyo. You can also put it in your action plans, in your catch-up plans, and then you can even do researches regarding this service. Pwede niyo siyang gawing action research, no? Pwede niyo siyang maging innovation. Okay? So, ito po yung mga opportunities. That is why very important po na when you do management review, talagang it has to be a serious sit-down meeting para po, kumbaga ay trabaho lang po ito, walang personalan. So, ito po ang nakita ng during the internal audit, ito po yung naging result. So, ito po yung mga kailangan nating i-improve. Okay? So, once na na-improve yung service or na-improve yung system, mas tumataas ngayon or mas na-enhance ngayon yung customer satisfaction. Okay? Next po is our non-conformity and corrective actions. So yung corrective actions, when we have a correction, kumbaga may reaction yung customer mo. So there's a need for correction. And then you will first determine the root cause. Bakit ba nag-react ng ganun yung customer mo? Ano yung reason? And then after that, when you have already identified your root cause, you can now implement your corrective action. Okay? So once you implement your corrective action, you have to review the effectiveness of that corrective action. Kumbaga, nakatulong ba yung corrective action na ginawa mo? Baka mas lalong nakasama. Or kung nakatulong siya, doon ngayon lalabas dito yung risk. Again, meron risk and opportunities. So doon sa naging corrective action mo, doon sa reaction ng iyong customer, what came out of that? Was it effective? So, nagkaroon ng opportunities or was it ineffective? So, mas lalong nagkaroon ng risk. So doon, after reviewing that, you can again make changes in your QMS to be able to implement again your corrective action na updated na. Ano po? So ito na yung reaction na corrective action. Out of the corrective and after updating your process, you have now made changes in your QMS, and then hopefully that will now constitute customer satisfaction. Okay? So, sino po ang in charge dito? Again, all process owners. And then, it can be seen in the corrective action procedure, request for action form, updated planning documents. So, we update again our documents when we do corrective action. Okay? And then, we do continual improvement. So when we say continual improvement or continuous improvement, we aim for suitability, we aim for adequacy, and we aim for effectiveness of our QMS processes. So meaning to say, ang results po ng ating analysis and evaluation plus yung output po ng ating management review equals to opportunities for continual improvement. So, ito po, yung results ng ating analysis, nagkaroon tayo ng monitoring report, nagkaroon tayo ng internal audit report, and then we're able to analyze and evaluate all this. And then after that, we're able to get outputs. It was discussed, all these things were discussed during the management review, and you were able to get outputs out of the management review. And then from that, you will able to get your opportunities now for continual improvement. How you'll be able to catch up, if ever, how you'll be able to update, maintain, sustain, retain, or even dispose of a process. Okay? So doon po natin malalaman dito yung tungkol po sa ating continual improvement. So continual improvement will now be specified in the change management, in the strategic plan, improvement plans, or innovation plans that we will be creating. Okay? So yun po yung kagandahan po ng UMS. All year round, tayo po ay tinitest po natin yung ating performance, if our performance are effective or not, or our performance are able to achieve as the customer satisfaction that we want or that we are aiming for. Okay? Ayan. So, I think that's the last slide. So, with that, I was able to give to you the 10 clauses. 10 clauses po. So, I think let's just wrap up. Wrap up the 10 clauses para lang po hindi natin malimutan yung ating 10 clauses for the ISO. Because I think that was the last slide. Okay, so we're able to discuss the 10 clauses of ISO 9001-2015. So we started with scope, with normative references, and we terms and definitions. And then we went to context of our organization. We did SWOT analysis. We did needs and expectations assessment, and then we list down our interested parties. And then after that, we assign our leadership. So our top management, our organizational roles, our responsibilities and authorities and accountabilities in the QMS processes. After that, we do now our planning, and we will come up with our quality control plan. So this in this clause, we address now our risks and our opportunities. We set our objectives. We plan for changes, and then after planning, we now identify the support that we need. We identify our resources. We identify the competence of our people who will be able to do what, who will be tasked to do whatever process, who will be the process owners. And then after that, it's important But it's very, very important that while doing QMS, it's not lodged only into one office. Ito lang po yung office na in charge or ito lang po yung tao na in charge. In fact, lahat ng tao ay aware, lahat ng tao po ay part noong QMS journey ninyo. Para po lahat ng tao din po will be able to help assistance to the processes that you have and to the services that you have. Communication, and ito po, if I can never emphasize, to document your information. Or documentation, because going back, diba, to the principles of QMS, we are deciding based on evidence, of those, right? So we have to document all our processes. And then after support, we do vision. So ito na yung pinaka-meet natin, ano? Now operate, we now implement, we now sit down and talk about our processes in toto, specific to each process, paano siya gagawin from point to point, sino po ang mga recipients, sino ang beneficiaries, who are the accountable persons, who are the responsible offices, yun po. So under operation, we do the operation planning, we set our requirements, we craft our design, we provide mechanism controls, we provide for production and service, and then release of all those services, and of course mechanism control for our non-conforming outputs. Okay, so after operations, we now have performance evaluation. So this is now monitoring and evaluation, analysis and evaluation, internal audit, and management review. So after that, we now ensure that we will be having continual improvement. And with that, to be able to do our continual improvement, we have to go back of our monitoring, of our results of our analysis, result of our management review, so that we will be able to see, we'll be able to identify whatever part of the QMS process or journey of your offices, you'll be able to inject the improvement. Okay, you'll be able to do innovations, be able to do your breakthrough changes to be able that your improvement will be able to achieve the foremost objective of QMS, which is customer satisfaction. Okay, so I guess that is it for ISO. That is it for ISO. Meron pa po ditong mga brochures and posters that you can use, FAQs, for one DepEd, one QMS. But basically, we are done with the ISO orientation. I think it's time for Q&A. But again, thank you very much po for listening to my awareness session. And I will now be turning over the floor to Miss Norliza for the Q&A. Thank you very much po. Good morning once again.
Thank you very much, Ma'am She, especially on the emphasis that you put on the roadmap for the QMS journey. That was a great way, I think, to wrap up the session. With all the different clauses and reminders, the roadmap is really something that we could use to guide us in this journey towards one DepEd, one QMS. Ma'am She, may I ask po if we can launch now the post-test, or should we have the questions
yes.
first?
Okay. Sige po. Siguro po we can have, I do hope that you were able to get some insights in my session, and let's now do the post-test for 10 minutes. Sana po makuha na po ninyo yung mga, I hope you were able to get the discussion that I shared with you para po doon masagutan na po natin ng again yung atin pong post-test. Sige. Can we have 10 minutes on the clock? Do we have the post-test already? Ito na po. Nandito na
Yes,
po sa
ma'am.
chat box. Opo, nandito na po sa chat box yung post-test. Again, we'll give our participants 10 minutes to answer the post-test. Thank you very much, Ms. Nor.
Thank you, Ma'am She. We will get back with the questions after the post-test. Just a reminder also to our participants, meron po tayong link para po sa ating mga katanungan. You can post your questions there and the QMS Secretariat of the Region will coordinate with the TAT for the responses to your inquiries. Thank you very much. We will now have our post-test. So sa mga tapos na pong magsagot sa ating post-test, we'd like to request also that you accomplish our evaluation through the link that is already posted in our chat. We still have 5 more minutes for those who are not yet done with their post-test. Thank you very much. Okay po, so hopefully po lahat po ay nakapagsagot na ng ating post-test. Nasa chat box na din po ang ating link for the evaluation. Can I have a thumb up reaction or any type of reaction from our participants kung tapos na po ba kayo sa ating post-test and evaluation test? You can toggle your pointers to the reaction part of the MS Teams. Kung tapos na po kayo, kindly send us a reaction para po makapag-proceed na tayo to our next part. Ma'am She, I think we have no question as of now. So we will just refer to the TAP if there are questions po after the session. Maybe our participants are still crafting po their questions.
Yes, thank you very much, Miss Nor. I believe parang meron pong ginawang link po ang QAD if there are questions that na maiisip niyo po right after this session or kung meron pong ibang mga questions po that can be addressed by the central office or later po, meron pong, I think meron pong link or Google Sheet po na ginawa ang QAD for that. Para din po mas, if there are questions or there are clarifications po that you want to raise to the central office or even in the regional office, nandito din po ang Quality Assurance Division under the leadership of Chief Melbert Puquesa para po tulungan tayo na magsagot po ng ating mga questions if there are questions po. But I do hope that the session is already, kumbaga, I do hope na medyo malinaw naman po, nalinawan ko naman po yung atin pong mga diniscuss kanina. But if there are additional information that you need, you can just send it in the chat box or pwede nyo pong i-PM sa amin or ipadala po sa QAT. Okay? So, are there questions po? Kasi kung meron pong wala na pong questions, I will say goodbye po and thank you very much for listening to my session and I hope to see you in the next awareness sessions for the QMS. Thank you very much po and thank you po to Quad, to Sir Melbert for inviting me to be with you today. Okay? I will now give back the floor to the virtual floor to Miss Norlisa. Thank you very much po.
Thank you very much, Ma'am She. Okay, please join me in awarding the certificate of recognition to our resource speaker. Let me read the content. Republic of the Philippines, Department of Education, MIMAROPA Region awards the certificate of recognition to Ms. Sherilyn Tila Quindanumfa, speaker during the awareness seminar on ISO 9001-2015 Quality Management System held on January 12, 2023 at DepEd MIMAROPA Region, Meralco Avenue, Warner, St. Paul Road, Pasig City. Given this 12th day of January 2023 at the DepEd Regional Office, signed by our Director, Dr. Nicolas T. Capulong, Seso 3, Director 4. Thank you once again, Ma'am She, and of course to the TAT for extending your expertise to our SDO participants for this training awareness training rather. Thank you po.
Thank you.
Ma'am She, please stay po. Can we take some photo with you before we give the closing part of this program? Before I give you our QAD chief for his message, I'd like to invite everyone to please open your cameras for some photo documentation with our resource speaker while she's around. We will just wait for a while for others to turn on their cameras. Okay po. So, in the count of 3, 1, 2, smile everyone. Saglit lang po. Isa pa po. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Yan, marami pong salamat.
Maraming salamat din po, and we'll see you on the next awareness sessions. Thank you. God bless po.
All right, so dear participants,
you
I give you
po.
the Chief of the Quality Assurance Division, Dr. Melbert Puqueza,
Thank you.
for his closing message.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nor. Clear po ba?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, a blessed day, my fellow Mimaropans. Of course, our regional director, our SDO participants, my colleagues from the regional office, and all of you who are with us in this meaningful undertaking. A blessed day to everyone. Lao Tzu once said, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step." This Chinese proverb means that if we want to achieve our dreams or goals in life, we must begin with our initial step. In other words, this expression tells us that the great things commence with simple beginnings. So, my dear SDO participants, we are just in our initial step in achieving our goals and aspirations for our department. Your presence today is just a manifestation that you really want to improve our processes in our workplace. Likewise, we are having this not because of our own personal desire, but because of our drive towards excellence and towards ISO certification. So at the end of this virtual academic conversation, we would like to thank everyone, especially our speaker, Ma'am Sherilyn Lakindanum, for sharing her knowledge to us to be aware of what ISO is. So once again, thank you very much for your cooperation and time. Magandang umaga po sa lahat.
Maraming salamat po, Sir Melbert, that for those words of inspiration for our participants also. So our dear SDO colleagues from SDOs Puerto Princesa City, Palawan, and Marinduque, maraming salamat po muli sa inyong pagdalo. We hope that all the clauses and reminders were duly noted, for this will serve as guide as we commence our preparation for our planning documents and manual. Thank you very much. This is Noriliza. I'll see you again in our next activity. Magandang umaga po.